Mob Psycho, bro.
Mob Psycho.
Okay, that ending blew my fucking mind. So is he in like a dream world now, where it's like, all right, live your life without powers? I want to see how you'd act now. That is such an interesting premise.
So, as a manga only Master Race person here, I'm really happy how they adapted this, because it's really, really good. It's going key for the manga right now, and I wasn't expecting them to be able to get all of the it kind of felt like they were going fast with the
they were
episode.
going really fast. Like, there are scenes where it's like, and I'm like, oh my god, like, you can tell they want to fit all of it in so bad, you know?
Like, bro, they're gonna fucking do they're gonna do the mobs. This episode, the next episode, is going to show off so much of Mob's character and so much shit is gonna go down, right? And what you're gonna see here is exactly what you're seeing, and it's gonna be great. Like,
I'm looking forward to it because, like, first of all, even every episode that goes by in this season, I just see how much more, like, he's changed. Like, look at how much more expressive and emotional a Mob is. Like, he's, like, getting fearful. He's emoting. And, like, the more I watch it, the more this feels like almost like a normal anime. Not in the sense that, like, it's getting, not original anymore, but, like, I remember one of the things that always used to stand out to me about this anime was, the Mob is always just kind of like straight-faced over there, just destroying the enemy. But the more I see it, the more Mob is like actually emoting like an actual anime character would during a fight. Like, he's becoming more quote-unquote normal. He's becoming more emotional and showing emotions during fights, and I love that. And this villain, by the way, really intimidating. I love what they did with him. I love the idea of, like, because legitimately, they did such a good job at, like, fucking my expectations so well. Like, I love, like, there's a point in this episode where you're like, oh, maybe this dad really is just, like, a creep or, like, a shitty dad, when she's like, please let me out, and, like, all that shit. And the scene where the window breaks and Reagan, like, gets his face cut by the glass, that shit was so hype. I was like, whoa. For a second I was worried Reagan was gonna get fucking, like, not killed, but, like, I thought he was gonna be seriously hurt. And then the other scene that was amazing was when she just fucking puncture hole right through the dad, and he's dead. And I'm like, God, that's so dark. This episode was just amazing, bro.
Yeah, man, because it's what they do with this episode is they tried to make you seem like it's gonna be like the standard, everyday life shit. So they never really made you realize that, oh shit, they forgot that Mob Psycho act does have fights in it.
This is
right?
what they do every season. Like, it's like episode 3 or 4 is when the plot kicks in. I love it.
Like, because what it does is that how they did it. Because me personally, the way they have the dad do his little thing, like, was perfectly adapted well in the anime.
Are you fucking kidding me? Did you just have a stroke? I am not moving on until you remember how to say that word.
I did. I got it right.
No, you didn't.
Sorry, I'm tired.
You
it's
didn't
12.
say it right. Try again.
Adaptation.
Adapted is the word you're looking for. My God, that is embarrassing.
Right. And I like, and the one thing I really like about Mob Psycho is the animation goes perfectly well with how one kind of sets up his manga, right? Because the manga, it has everything so weird, everything so, like, out of the ordinary.
I love the, like, pencil drawing shit they do.
Oh yes, what makes it even better is that the voice acting is fucking amazing in this episode. Like, who they have. The ghost is fucking great. It's actually the voice of a very well-known Japanese voice actor. I don't know his name, but he voiced, like, a lot of characters that I watch. Like, he voices Katsura from Gintama and a bunch of other shit. So I recognize his voice very well. And he fits that role for this character very well, because this character, I'm not going to spoil anything, but this character is a very not, I wouldn't say relatable, but a character that you can see, you can understand where he's coming from, right?
Yeah.
And I want to know your thoughts on Dimple this episode, right?
Dimple Mob. Fucking Dimple all of a sudden becoming like a kung fu master over here. Like, God, I love it, bro. Like, that fight scene was great too.
Like, this is great because Dimple knowing the guy before he knew he was.
Yeah, that
right?
was cool. Like it was basically Dimple back in the day when he would like had like a spirit cult, and this guy was essentially just like, he was so just fucking pissed at everything that he was like, nah, I just want to become an evil spirit. I want to absorb, like pull a Kirby and absorb them into my being. That was interesting. And
we'll know why next episode why he does that. It's explained in the next. It'll be explained in this episode.
So yeah, I mean, like, that's fascinating to me. And like, and by the way, they perfectly go back and like use the rules that they've established. I love power systems that do that. Okay, the fact that they use the out of body experience from last episode, perfect. That was beautiful. We established it perfectly last episode, and now we're using it within the lore and the power system of Mob Psycho in this episode. Loved it.
The out-of-body experience.
And it's just, everything makes so much sense. Like, by the way, this gave me major early Bleach vibes, because a lot of times whenever Ichigo would leave his soul, because honestly, think of Soul Reapers in Bleach as like all of them using out-of-body experiences. like that's kind of like essentially like if you're a Soul Reaper but you have a physical body, like you kind of like leave your physical body and become a soul and you fight like that, whereas your physical body will either be defenseless or you'll pop in like an artificial soul stored in a pill, and then that soul will pilot your body while you're gone. So Mob kind of had that with Dimple here, and I love that there was two simultaneous fights happening. Dimple taking care of the physical body, whereas Mob went into the mental area and tried to take care of that. And now that they're both in there, and I also loved, Mob even pointed it out, like, oh, you're talking very calmly and professionally, and he's like, yeah, you know, this is like where we're reflections of what we want to see ourselves as, and I love that. Like, that's just, he still sees himself as that, like, at least this is the way I took it. He kind of still wants to see himself as like that professional psychic. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, because he wants to see himself to the point to where he was, at top of his prime, because you'll know why that is, because I can't spoil it for you, so I'm just gonna
talk about the episode within the episode. Stop being fucking elitist.
Shut up. Says the Hunter x Hunter elitist. Don't ever say that to me.
Yeah, dude. I spent 40 minutes. Okay, put in the comments, is Hunter x Hunter a seinen or a shonen, in your opinion? Go. I'm gonna ask that in every single one of our videos for a week. All right.
Anyway, it's because think about it, right? He was a well-known psychic. He was loved everywhere, and then something got him to snap, right? So he saw himself before that, right?
Yes.
And because Mom, and I love it because Mom was just like, I'm sorry, I'm not here to talk. I'm here to kick your ass. So get the fuck out of here.
God, like, remember when we did our main character bracket?
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I do want to do more brackets, by the way. I found a YouTube channel that does them, and I really, it made me want to do more brackets like that. Like, we should get together, you, me, I could, like, poll my friends. We got to do more of those. But in our main character bracket, we did, to, like, everyone's surprise, Mob Psycho 1. And it was a character that I did not expect to win at all. Like, going into it, I didn't expect to win, but as we debated through these characters, he won. And what I realized, and this is, keep in mind, this is when Thurman hadn't read the manga yet. I think both of us had only seen season 1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like, even just season 1, both Thurman and I were like, Mob Psycho is the best main character out of all these people. And to me, it's just because of how goddamn much he develops. Like when you're watching a shonen, like let's say Gon, for example, his development is this slow build through the entirety of through the entirety of the anime, through the Chimera Ant arc, and that's his big development piece. Same with Luffy, hardly develops at all. Naruto, same thing. He kind of like gains the confidence slowly through hundreds of chapters. Mob is developing episode by episode, and he's developing incredibly quick. And some might even say he's developing so fast that it makes him a little bit unhuman, but I would argue back, he's been repressing his emotions so long that it would make sense for him to change this quickly. And it's marvelous. Like he he's a fascinating character that I can't even like fully comprehend sometimes how good he is and how well written he is. It's otherworldly sometimes how well one writes his characters.
Yeah, one is a god tier writing character. Especially because this is one like episode animated, right? Because I was hyped when they first started seeing this episode animated. It was everything felt so legit. I missed the part to where it shows like his emotional level rising.
Yo, the countdown was explosion. I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen when it explodes this time?
So it's just I love those little touches because in the manga it does that. Like you know how there's like a panel and then it has like a little sub panel and it has like the number percentage. It has
I like the way it does it in the anime. It's like that little countdown number, like.
Yeah, I fucking love that shit. Oh my god.
Now let's talk about the real important part of this episode: how Reigen is more and more badass every episode. Reigen, master of rock paper scissors and kicking the shit out of spirits. This motherfucker need a spirit out of a dude. He need him in the stomach, and the spirit fucking left. I love him. I also love to see where Reigen's like, oh man, he ain't even messing around. He skipped the salt throwing.
Reigen's just Tiger Knee, like a Street Fighter reference, man.
Bro.
He's playing for Street Fighter.
First of all, Reigen, he apparently is the master of Junken. Which, did this not remind you heavily of that Hunter x Hunter scene where where Leorio's like going like really deep into like the psychology of rock paper scissors and like how to win and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Because like what he did the strategy that they did in Hunter x Hunter where they're like, I'm going to say I'm going to do this, but also this, but you'll never know which one I'm really going to do. I love that. Reigen, bro, I love him so much. I can't wait, bro. I can't wait to cosplay him.
The one thing I really loved about this episode too was how I really like how everyone was just like, oh well, they're gang up on the dad thing, and dad was like a creep and stuff like that.
Yes. I love that scene. Reigen's like, no, and at first I legitimately thought Reigen was just like I agreed with the guy, like, oh, he's just trying to get the money, but like Reigen's really surprising me in how wholesome he's being, because the fact that he noticed something I didn't notice, that she switched between dad and papa, and like he was like on some fucking L from Death Note level shit right now. Like, actually, I noticed this. Like, Reigen envy fucking P consistently.
Yo, bro, Reigen and Mob grow exponentially, man, and I'm really liking how the anime kind of showing that Reigen's growing in his own way. And one of my favorite scenes was that, because it was just like Reigen's like, well, no, if you actually believe what she's saying, then you should leave now, because the spirits are already essentially taking a hold of you, right? He notices how she talks, what she says, how does she, everything like that, and he says like, look, how the hell did she know I was a psychic? How the hell she knew what I was here for?
What I love about Reigen is, like, I think what's great about Reigen is that, like, everyone else in there, they focus so much on the actual psychic aspect of it. They focus so much on, do I sense a spirit there? Do I sense power there? But Reigen, being someone who doesn't actually have psychic abilities and has had to master faking having psychic abilities his whole life, actually has to rely on his smarts. It's kind of like how, if you get so reliant on your powers, you lose your ability to strategize. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Reigen, I feel, is just so good at bullshitting that he's almost... He's like accidentally becoming good at being a psychic through pretending to be a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So, like, literally, like, he's able to see something that all these other professional, even Mob, didn't sense it. Anything. So, like, the fact that, like, Reigen, because he's such a good con man, he is someone who he's able to notice oddities through how people speak and shit like that. And so, once again, Reigen just MVP here, because, like, he's got a talent and a skill that other people don't have. And Reigen and Mob together make a phenomenal team. And he's just so brave. He's way braver than he was in Season 1, because the fact that he's, like, he was getting his ass whipped around. Did you see him get whipped? Like,
oh, yeah.
He's staying in the fight, bro. bro. Like, I love this man. And at the end of the day, he's just some, like, mid-20s, or maybe he's 29, I think I heard. He's just some dude in his 20s that runs a fucking, like, con artist shop, and he's the big badass. He's acting so badass. I love that about him. Like, when you look at him, you just see this, like, random fucking, like, dude who's, like, such a fucking fraud, but at the same time, he's like your cool uncle. You want to spend time with him, even though you know he's a loser.
Yeah, that's legit. That's the best metaphor ever, or comparison. A cool uncle.
Oh, I love Reagan so much, bro. And honestly, I hope that in later episodes in this season, because something that I hope that they don't do, I hope they don't make him too much of a good guy. Like, he can't consistently be, like, I like that he's being, like, really good lately, but, like, you have to always show me that he's still a little bit of a scumbag so he doesn't lose. And, like, you know how, like in Rick and Morty, they always try to be like, oh, is Rick cool now? And then they'll like, the next episode, they'll turn around and be an asshole. That was the question. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I said yeah.
Oh, okay, you didn't on my end, but so like that's what I need from Reagan. I need Reagan to just kind of like next episode be like I don't know, man, like because he can't be too nice. Like he's got to walk that perfect line of still kind of being a scumbag. That's what I love about Reagan. You can't lose that about him.
That's a toughie, man. That's a toughie.
Nah. All you have to do is just have Reagan like still be like a little scummy to be like remember like just like you know like when he paid Mob in vegetable seeds, or when he pretended like he was giving a curse to that one guy. Like I love that. Like you got to have a bit of that too. You walk that line. Oh, any final thoughts or other things to talk about in this episode for you, Thurman?
More hype for the next episode, man. I'm really, bro.
I am incredibly excited.
They are adapting this manga very, very well, and this arc is going to be so sexy. Just
do you feel like they're skipping anything important at all?
No, not at all. Everything is going perfect.
Awesome.
Extremely perfect.
See, well, but they have to be skipping something, like at the pace they're going, right?
No, it doesn't feel like this episode. No.
Really? So they haven't skipped any of like the more slice of life, slow paced arcs at all?
From what I realized, from what I've noticed, no, because this arc it was like maybe you probably have maybe one or two in between slices, like you know, chapters, but this arc is like pretty, you know.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear it, man. Like, now remember when I was like talking to you about the opening, and you were like, "Oh, that's like a million arcs from now." Is that not this arc? Is that still a future arc?
That's a future arc. Completely different arc.
Interesting. So, wow, they're going to cover a lot this season then. Do you think they're able to, like, are they feasibly able to get through, like, this current arc they're getting into now in, like, 2 or 3 episodes and then cover that other arc later in the season?
Yeah, I think so. This arc wasn't really that long.
Like, I was going to say, from what you've read in the manga, how long do you think this arc would take at the pace they're going?
Since this arc will probably take maybe like 2 or 3 episodes, maybe. At most. I'm
looking forward to it because, like, so let me just fully understand what's happening here. He's making him live in a dream world where everything's the same except he doesn't have powers, correct?
Yeah.
So what is the purpose? Is he just trying to like get a vibe for Mob's personality? Like, would he be different if
because
he didn't? Yeah.
Because remember their conversation in the dream world, right? He says, "What's the biggest thing that increases telekinetic powers?"
Emotions.
It's not positive emotions; it's negative emotions. So what he's going to do is, and Mob's the type of person who he notices that Mob bottles in his emotions. He has all this power, but he bottles it in.
Right.
So basically, what he's doing is he's testing Mob. He's seeing how he's basically putting Mob through this cycle of how long can you take it before your negative emotions explode and you start to use your powers for yourself? Because remember, Mob doesn't want to use his powers, right? Mob is a character who wants to be a person who doesn't have to rely on telekinetic powers.
Well, also, I think he knows that somewhere deep inside of him that like he's someone who's so powerful that if he uses them, he could like do real damage as well. Like, remember how sad he was when he fucked up the school?
Yeah. So this guy is basically saying this is a guy who relies heavily on his telekinetic abilities and says, "You have them, embrace them, use them to your advantage." And Mom's kind of the opposite of that, and he's like, "Okay, well, let's put it to a test, right? Let's see how long you can take without your powers, and see." He's basically giving Mom a dose of reality, basically a dose of
I
it.
feel like maybe I'm misguided, but if I'm reading how the story is going to go properly, I feel like his life's going to be way better without powers. Because he wants to be normal. He, like remember what? Like the first thing I think of is when that girl that he liked called him boring because of his powers. And the way I've always looked at, well, not because of his powers, but because that was all he had. Like, and the way I've always looked at Mob is that like he's someone who, because of his powers, he subconsciously taught himself to bottle up his emotions. And by subconsciously bottling up his emotions, that's what made him become a boring person. Because he really doesn't... That kind of led him to like have no emotions, period. No thoughts or feelings or opinions towards anything, because he wanted to be as neutral as possible because he was terrified of his powers leaking out. That's how I always understood it. So, in my opinion, I feel like his life would be way happier without powers. Because he could be a kind of a normal boy, like his brother was before he got powers. Like, what do you think?
No comment.
Right, but like, just on my theory, like you don't got to say if it's right or wrong, but like, I mean, like, is it a good theory?
I can't say that because I have to keep quiet because you're I feel like you probably have finished the series already, so I can't comment anything. If I agree or disagree, it's spoiling. So I'm keeping my mouth shut.
I'm just saying, that's my official. I think his life is going to be way better without powers, because it's that kind of fucking series where like they I don't know, man.
I'm making theories hush before.
Well, it kind of reminds me of what was it like? There was just something I watched where they were trying to do the whole like, what would it be like if you were never born, and then everyone's lives were actually happier.
Fairy Odd Parents.
Yeah. Was that it? Yeah, I think so.
Timmy wishes he was never born, and then like everyone's way.
Oof, that's too real, bro.
No. He gets pissed because he's doing all these good deeds. Then no one recognizes his good deeds, and he's like, "I wish I was never born." Then Jorgen just takes him to a universe to where he was never born, and everyone's happier.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure Rugrats did the opposite, where I think Chucky wished he was never born, and like everyone was like sadder or something.
Really? I don't know. That episode, really? I have to look it up.
Hold on, I gotta look this up. We're doing it live right here on the. Hold on, I'm googling it. Rugrats Chucky never born. I swear, like my brain's telling me that was a thing. Chucky's Wonderful Life, Rugrats fandom. Woo! Yeah, my childhood memories. Don't let me down, bitch. Get fucked. This episode, its original air date was 2 months before I was born. February 13th, 1994. Wow.
Ooh, nice.
Okay, hold on. Plot. All right. After the babies take Chaz's favorite folk dance music CD, Angelica takes it when they aren't looking. Chucky blames Tommy and the twins for having the idea of taking it, but when he feels guilty about it, Angelica tells him that everyone would be better off without him. Chucky decides to run away from home, but then his guardian angel stops him and shows him what the world would be like if he was never born. Boom! I am so fucking proud of myself for remembering that.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Chaz is lonely so his dad is lonely because he never married, and all he does is talk to a sock puppet named Saki and watch C-SPAN, and the house is a mess without Chucky. Chaz didn't see any reason to clean up. Phil and the twins are so horribly behaved because Chucky isn't there to fucking like keep them in line. Tommy is living in poverty, going through garbage looking for food. I'm so glad I remembered that. That's crazy. The things that are like locked into your brain, bro. You like, legitimately had me convinced for like 3 seconds that I had like made that episode up.
I did go to Verb. I found the episode there.
Hell yeah, bro. All right. Any final comments on Mob Psycho?
It's great.
Peace.